You see all these books right here?
Wow.
Yeah, well, I've read them. Not a big deal or anything. No, seriously, it's really not a big deal. I've wasted a lot of my life alone just reading those books. But seriously, I have gained a ton of knowledge from reading all of these books, and as a result, I've made quite a few mistakes along the way. It took me a very long time to figure out that I was actually making these mistakes, and even longer to correct them. And in today's video, I want to share with you what those mistakes are so that I can help you save years of pain and suffering. Okay, so the single biggest reading mistake that I made, hands down, was only reading one book at a time. No, not like that, you idiot.
Thank God.
What I mean by reading multiple books at once is that you're in the process of reading more than one book at any given time. For some reason, when people get into reading, at first they are serial book monogamists. They get into a committed relationship with a single book that they oftentimes don't really like that much, and feel bad about reading any other book while they're focused on that single one. I've talked to a ton of people who have said, you know what, I don't really think the whole reading multiple books at once is for me. I like just sticking to one book. Well, let me give you an analogy to show you how stupid this is. Let's think about your music library for a second, on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever it is. Imagine that you told yourself that you can only listen to one song in your entire music library. It doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what mood you're in, it doesn't matter what vibe you're trying to set. The only song that you can ever listen to would be that single song. I can imagine that that probably wouldn't turn out too well for you. Yeah, shit. Let's get this show on the road. Let me just light a candle really quick. All right, let me just put on some music for the mood, you know? All right, I'm ready. So what? Where'd you go? This happens every time. When you read multiple books at once, you end up reading way more books than you otherwise would. Being able to switch back and forth between a variety of books is going to be really important for you in order to enjoy reading more, to make it as easy as possible so that you can read no matter what mood you're in. And so the lesson here is to have a bit of an open relationship with other books. Don't get so single-minded and focused on any single book. You'll read way more and you'll probably enjoy it way more. If I could travel back 8 years in time and tell myself absolutely anything, well, I would probably tell myself to buy Bitcoin, if I'm being honest with you. But I would also tell myself to stop reading books that bore you. And that is the second mistake that I see a lot of readers making, which is continuing to read books that bore them. If I do not like a book, I will not give it any more time than it deserves. Time is by far our most valuable asset. It is the only thing that we do not get any more of. There is way too little time in your life and way too many good books that you should be reading for you to actually sit down and try and slog through a book that's just boring you. But the thing is that us human beings, well, we kind of suck. And that's because we actually fall victim to a lot of cognitive biases, one of them being the sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy makes you feel like you need to continue to put in money or time or effort into something because you've already sunk a lot of resources into it. You hear people talk about books they like, right? They saw a book online, they were really excited about that book, so they go online, they look up reviews for it, they then go onto the internet, they order the book, they wait several days for that book to come, then it finally comes, they open it up, and they spend a few hours reading the first few chapters. Like, no wonder people get so connected to that book. They have sunk a lot of time and effort and energy into it. And so people feel like they can't give it up because they've put so much into it already. But it definitely doesn't have to be this way. Books have this very special quality about them that make us feel like we can't move on from them when you compare it to really anything else. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you put on the first episode of a TV show that you've been excited to watch, but you're finding that about halfway through the first episode, you're not really liking it. Maybe you're not liking the writing or the boredom is just kicking in. Would you ever, in your right mind, say, You know what? I've already thrown on this TV show. I guess I'll just finish all 7 seasons because, well, I've already started it and I can't change TV shows now, even though there's hundreds of other shows that I would probably like better than this one. That was a rhetorical question. Of course you wouldn't do that, but the same thing can be applied to books. Just because you started a book, that definitely does not mean that you have to finish it. Your time would be much better spent just trying to find another book that you think that you actually might like better than the book that you're reading. So the lesson here is simple. If a book's boring you, stop reading it. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you not understand what I just said? Was that like way too fast for you to ever possibly comprehend? Yeah, that's another mistake that readers make all of the time, one that I've made in the past, trying to actually speed read books. I'm sorry, it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. There is probably so much evidence to prove me wrong on this. I'm sure people could go off on how speed reading works, and you just have to learn and put in the time and effort, and science backs it up, and yada, yada, yada. I don't really care. I know I'm probably wrong on this, but what I'm telling you right now is to not speed read. That shit don't work. What you should do instead is take your time when you're reading your books and actually try to understand what you are reading. I promise you it is much more important for you to understand what you're reading, really dive into the material, let it soak into you, than it is to actually just quickly breeze through books because you're able to read 50 words per minute faster or whatever it is. I have tried to speed read a ton of those books over there, and let me tell you, if you asked me what was actually in any of those books, well, I couldn't because speed reading doesn't work. And sure, you're going to get better at reading and you're going to be able to read faster over time, but really the point of reading is not to finish books. The point of reading is to enjoy yourself and learn stuff. The next mistake is thinking that audiobooks are cheating. I definitely used to judge people that would listen to audiobooks and claim they had read that book. I guess in my mind, if you weren't physically sitting down and actually using your eyeballs to read the words on the page, then it didn't really count. A few months ago, I decided that I wanted to read more fiction. So I went into the internet and looked up the best audiobooks from the single source of truth in the world, Reddit, and found that the book The Martian by Andy Weir, narrated by Will Wheaton, was considered a really, really fantastic audiobook. So I reluctantly bought it, I set my expectations extremely low, and let's just say, well, it was one of the best books that I have ever read in my entire life. And when I really think about what the purpose of reading is, well, it comes down to one of 3 things. You're either trying to learn something completely new, improve your understanding of something that you already kind of know, or really just enjoy yourself. And guess what? I really, really enjoyed this audiobook. And to be honest with you, I remember the details from this book much, much more vividly than I do remember other books that I've read physically. And so I guess in a lot of ways, you can actually say that audiobooks are superior to regular books. And the great thing about audiobooks is you can kind of listen to them when you're doing anything. Maybe you're on a walk, doing the dishes, witnessing the birth of your firstborn child.
Push! Oh, congratulations. It's a healthy baby boy. What do you...
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I was just listening to something in my headphone here. Good job. That's ours? Huh. Cool. Okay, last chapter. 1 second. Audiobooks are simply increasing the amount of time that you can actually spend engaging with books. And in my eyes, anything that allows you to read more is a win. The thing is that none of the things that I've actually listed above truly matter if you're making this next mistake, which is not applying anything that you learn from books in your real life. For the longest time, I thought that simply reading books was enough. But the truth is, it's only the start. There's a great scene from The Matrix that beautifully summarizes the point I'm trying to make.
Neo, sooner or later you're going to realize, just as I did, there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path.
Reading books allows you to understand the path, but the knowledge about that path is only going to become useful once you actually start walking down it. If you never walk the path, the knowledge is completely useless. I spent far too many years of my life concerning myself with the best ways to read books and the best way to memorize what I read. But the truth is that if I am not applying what I'm reading in these books into my life, well, the whole act of reading itself becomes quite pointless. And if you're someone who struggles with this issue, I got some good news for you. I actually made a whole video right here about why memorizing books is really stupid and what you should do instead to help deepen your understanding on any topic. Please check it out. I think you'll really enjoy it.